Kia ora whanau. This video is about contingency tables. This is yet another way to visualize events, look at all the possible outcomes and calculate probabilities. So let's crack on with an example. Here's a scenario. Student results for a beep test. So we're going to look at male and female students, as it says on the top there, and we're going to look at their scores for the beep test, which is, if you don't know what the beep test is, it's just a fitness test. So the two scores that we want to look at is either the students got 11 or more, or they got below 11. Now 11 is chosen here because it's considered if you got 11 on the beep test, then you are actually quite fit. So that arrow there is basically showing the two boxes where we're going to fill in, and that's all the males. So these two things are the two outcomes for males. So either a male student got 11 or more, or they got below 11. And we're going to total them up, and we're going to put a total right down at the bottom there. We're also going to look at females. And as I said before, with the males, we're going to look at females who got 11 or more, or below 11, and we're going to total them up and put that total down the bottom. But the other thing we can look at is we can look from left to right of the table, so horizontally. So we can look at the total number of students that scored higher than 11. It doesn't matter if they're male or female, we can total both of them up and get an answer there. And similarly, we can look at the total number of students who got a score below 11. So this table is going to help us look at these numbers and sort of calculate probability. So let's move on and let's see what we've got next coming up. Alright, so here's our table. What I'm going to do is fill in the values that I have. So we have 10 males who got 11 or higher, or 11 or more on the beep test. We have 80 males who got below 11. Okay, now we total them up. That's 90. I hope you can all see that. And so now let's cross over to the females. We have 13 females who got 11 or more. So we can already start to see that there are 3 more females that scored a pretty decent score on the beep test when we compare to males of 10. Alright, and we got 51 females which scored below 11. And we can total that up, and that'll give us 64. Now, please keep in mind that it is a good idea in any sort of exam situation to bring a calculator, just in case the addition that you do in your head is incorrect. So a calculator will help you check your answers. So we've got two totals there, 90 and 64. So 90 males competed, 90 males were scored in the scenario, and 64 females. So the other thing we can look at is the total number of students who got higher than 11, or 11 or more. That is 23. There we go, 23. And we can also look at the total number of students who scored below 11, which is 131. Okay, now hopefully you can see from there that there are quite a large number of students, 131, who are not really that fit. But anyway, let's press on and let's look at what I'm going to put here. So what I'm going to put here is the grand total, 154. So if you add up the 23 plus 131, you will get 154. So that is the total number of students that are part of the scenario. We can also add 90 and 64, and that will give us 154. So what you see here is your completed contingency table. Now what we're going to do is use this to calculate probabilities. So here we go. Now I've set this up so we can see exactly what's going on. What we're going to do is we are going to calculate the probabilities for the numbers on this table, using the numbers on this table. So the first thing I want to do is here. Right, now where does the 10 come from and where does the 154 come from? Well, hopefully, well, no, not hopefully, let's look at the table. Look at the 10. There are 10 males who scored 11 or more in the beep test. And that's 10 out of 154. So the way to write this would be 10 divided by 154. And then, similarly, we can use the 80 males who scored below 11 and write that as 80 out of 154, or 80 divided by 154. Next number is 13. 13 out of 154 females got 11 or more on the beep test. And the last one is 15 out of 154. Sorry, 51 out of 154 females that scored below 11 on the beep test. So that's all we need to do on that table there, but what we can further do is we can actually use these fractions, put each of them into your calculator, and then I'd like for you guys to write that as a probability. So let's do that. So 10 divided by 154 is 0.6494. 80 divided by 154 is 0.5195. 13 divided by 154 is 0.08442. And lastly, 51 divided by 154 is 0.3312. Now, please remember to round your probabilities to 4 significant figures. Now, what we can do now is we can actually total these probabilities up. So when I say total, let's take these two and add them up, and we get 0.5844. So just like we added the 10 and the 80 to get 90, and previously, we're going to do the same with the probabilities. And we're going to also do the same for the females. So the female column, we're going to add up, and we get 0.4156. Okay, now to complete the table, we're also going to need to add up horizontally, or from left to right. So those two numbers there will give you 0.1494, and these two numbers will give you 0.8507. Now, what do you think is going to happen when we add up the yellow total and the pink total? And what do you think is going to happen when we add up the green total and the blue total? Well, let's have a look. Add those up, you're going to get 1. Wow, that's a really interesting phenomenon. Now let's check my answer, because I should get the same thing if I add up the green and the blue. I also get 1. So my grand total is going to be, you guessed it, the magic number, 1. Now, if at this point, when you're doing an exercise and you get, or a question, and you get an answer which is less than 1 or more than 1, that means you've done some calculations which are slightly wrong. So I suggest you go back and sort that out. So let's press on and let's calculate the probabilities. Well, no, we've already calculated the probabilities. Let's just read the table that we've created and write down the probabilities that we find. So there's our table again. Firstly, we're going to look at the probability of male. Now there we go. We're gonna read that number directly off the table. So you can write that down. So the chance that a student is male is 0.5844. what we also want to look at is, let's have a look at where a student's got 11 or more on the beep test. So that's going to be this number here, 0.1494. Okay, next let's look at the probability that the person is female and is below 11 on the beep test. Now by now you should be able to see this pretty clearly. Here we go, female and below 11. So what we're going to do is just read that probability straight off the table because we've already done the hard work. There we are, 0.3312. And I don't know what's going on here. Because this video is to be continued. So keep an eye out for the video which follows. Thank you for tuning in.